Welcome to the Deep View Conversations podcast. I'm Jason Heiner, and I'm here with my colleague, longtime collaborator, Sabrina Ortiz. Hey, Sabrina.
Hey Jason, I'm super stoked to be here. We have a lot to talk about in terms of phone launches.
We sure do. So, August, here we are. The Techtember sort of getting its early start. This is like the Techtember pregame with Google, the Google Made by Google event last week, and you and I have both been testing the Pixel 11 Pro XL and the Pixel 11 Pro Fold. Boy, that last one is a mouthful. I just want to call it the Pixel Fold 11. Um, and then we've also been as a bonus, we've also been testing this little guy. We've both been testing this guy, which is the Samsung Fold 8. So we'll talk a little bit about that at the end. This is mostly going to be about the Pixels because they're the sort of the real AI kind of phones. But Sabrina, you and I have a little bit of a different opinion on this, which is great. This is great for the podcast.
What's new? No.
Yeah. So that's true. So the cool thing is that these devices are more and more focused on AI for our audience, which cares a lot about AI. Last year, you and I both tested the Pixel 10 devices, and our conclusion last year was pretty clear that like these are the first AI native phones. These are the first like AI smartphones. You still, I still stand by that. You still feel the same? Like that was the first device that really was like all in on AI.
I definitely still think the same. I think less of it being all in on AI because all of these different manufacturers are, touting that they're all in on AI, and I think they're all trying their best. What I
Mm,
think made the Pixel 10 stand out is that Gemini features are just baked in natively, because it's
yeah.
at the end of the day a Google phone. And that's really what made it feel like it was an actual finished AI product. And yeah, I stand by that for sure.
It was so native to all the apps, right? To your keyboard, to your Gemini app on the phone, to the Google apps, Google Docs, Gmail, all of those things, and that's just made it so that like if you wanted to use AI, it just made it easier to get to it and jump in right from your phone. So that was good. I also wrote about the phone. The phone camera in that as well, right? It jumped up with some new AI features. It had this this feature that helps you take a good shot. The sort of camera help one. It had the sort of improved best take and those kinds of things. So it was a phone that really packed some AI. And so you and I were on the very same page about that. It's about this year that we have a little bit of a different opinion because, I think of, here's the Pixel 11 Pro Fold. No, not Pixel 11 Pro XL, which you've been testing as well. Um, I think that this like takes it to a whole nother level was sort of my thought. And your thought is like, not so much.
So is it still some of the best AI smartphones that I've had? Absolutely. For the same reason as last year, it's still baked in with Google AI, also known as Gemini. And of
Yeah.
course, if you're a Google user, which most people are, it's incredible that I could link and reference to your calendar, which is basically my lifeline, and my Gmail, which is again my other lifeline.
Yeah.
But in terms of new features that elevate it, I would say that the only feature that could make an argument for that is Rambler, and Rambler is awesome. But other than that, there's nothing that I find that would fall under the category of supercharging. But would love to hear what other
Yeah.
features make that distinction for you.
Okay. Yeah. So a few things. One part of it is that Rambler is so good that it is, that is such an incredible improvement. For those who aren't familiar, I think probably most of the audience is familiar with Rambler, but Rambler is the new voice dictation option that's built into the Google keyboard or Gboard. Rambler does essentially what Whisperflow does, for those who are familiar with Whisperflow, and there are also some other competitors. But basically, you hit one button, you just sort of ramble on. You can sort of correct yourself. You can say, so let's do that on Saturday. Let's do that meeting, Sabrina, on Saturday at 9 a.m. Not that we do meetings on Saturday at 9 a.m., and then I could switch it and say, oh no, actually, Sabrina, let's do it at Friday at 9 a.m. And it will not do the whole sort of bit that I just sort of corrected. It'll just do the, correction part, right? It's a lot of the ums and ahs. It's just so good. On Whisperflow, right? People love it. You and I use it all the time. We love it on Mac, especially. You hit the function key, you just start talking, and it just clears up all your text. I mean, you and I have both dictated long parts of articles. We've, used it for messages. Lots of people do.
I can't work. It's really changed how I work. I do not enjoy working from coffee shops or libraries or anywhere else anymore because I can't speak and dictate, especially for people familiar with the deep view. We include our deep review at the end of articles, and that's really based on our analysis. So I like speaking it because I think it makes it more conversational and it makes it really sound like something I would say, for example, to a friend that I was explaining why this article mattered. So it's almost become a must for me to use Whisperflow for those, and it's changed how I work. I can't do it in public anymore. I don't enjoy it as much.
Same. I've gotten very much addicted to it as well. Like when I don't have it, I sort of feel a little like instead of digging with a shovel, I'm like digging with my bare hands. It's pretty wild. So, but on mobile, and Whisperflow does have mobile apps and mobile integrations on iPhone and on Android, but it's just not good. It's like,
you don't think it's good on Android? Because I've heard on Android the biggest complaint is that the widget floats on your screen, so it'll get in the way for typing and such. But at least on Android, you could just click the button, start talking, and get the same effect than you would on Mac. My issue is on iPhone because of all the different ways that Apple, makes it difficult for developers to really
to lock down the whole system. Yeah,
exactly. They've made it where you kind of have to jump to two or three hoops before you actually get to the dictating part, and at that point, I'm just not interested. I will just use the native Apple version and then correct everything 20 times if I need to. But on Android, you don't think it was good?
I don't. So I use it on Android too. And there's the floating thing. So it works very different, completely different on Android versus iOS. On iOS, it's a keyboard. So it's essentially you just you have to switch to a different keyboard. Then when you try to do it, it flops over to that. And then you have to swipe back. Such a pain. On Android, it is this little floating icon, and you sort of then thumb that icon and then start talking. But it's sometimes the icon gets weird to find. It's sort of covering part of your screen, and so it's a pain. And so you sort of swipe it over so it gets out of the way, and then you have to sort of swipe it back to use it. And then when you use it, even sometimes it's not like it is on desktop. Or on desktop, it's instant, no lag. It just you hit the button, it pops up, it starts working. On Android, you hit it, and sometimes it's just laggy for me anyway, even on powerful devices.
I found that, but interesting. Okay. I'll keep an eye out for that. Well, I guess I don't have to because now I could use Rambler on keyboard. But
here's the thing. With Rambler, I just don't even have to think about is the icon there? Do I swipe it in? Do I swipe it off? Is it going to lag? Rambler, it just works every time. It's your keyboard comes up, you just pop it, and then you start talking. Just like on desktop, the Rambler feels as good, if not better, than Whisperflow on desktop. And that's sort of the thing, that you just don't have to think about it. You just can use it. It just gets out of the way.
Yeah, that's Google's biggest advantage. That's just that native integration. That's why they keep winning when it comes, or at least in my opinion, to AI hardware, because like you just said, the ease of not having to worry about it. And I also love that if you're not an AI person, if you're just again, a parent or anybody who's clicking the button that they're used to clicking, they might not even realize why it's working so much better. They may not even realize it's now powered by AI models or more advanced ones at that, and just enjoy a really flawless experience. So I think you're absolutely hit the nail on the head there.
It's so good. As a matter of fact, it puts, and I know I'll get to some of the other features that I think are AI features, but it's worth talking about Rambler for a minute, because it's so game changing that it's so good that it really puts the iPhone at a disadvantage. And you know me, I've always carried since 2010. I've always carried two phones, an iPhone and an Android. iPhone is my personal phone. Android is my work phone. But there's some apps that I have on both, right? Like LinkedIn, like a few other things that are just on. I have them on both phones. I can access it, Instagram, those kinds of things. It's now to the point where if I have an app that's on both and I have to do any typing at all, I will always use it on Android, because it's just so much better experience, because you can use Rambler to just sort of, talk your thing through. To the point you mentioned, though, some people who aren't AI enthusiasts will just notice that it works better. There is one caveat to that. So by default, the way Google has it turned on, and I think they should change this, the way Google has it turned on is it has this essentially, there's this new feature that sort of switches conversationally between the traditional dictation and Rambler. And I don't like it, because it uses the traditional dictation more often. And the way you know the difference is the traditional dictation just has a regular mic. The Rambler dictation has the regular mic plus the Gemini icon, the little star, there. And so the traditional dictation just does whatever, it tries to say and record exactly what you are saying when you say it. And then Rambler does this thing where it removes the ums and ahs. You can correct yourself, yada, yada, yada. I have turned it, but you have to manually go in and turn off that sort of automatic switcher and just say use Rambler all the time, which is what I've done. And I'm so glad, because I'm happy to leave Rambler on 100% of the time, and I never notice or want to go back to the other dictation.
Yeah,
Have you
that's
had
interesting
this?
because I think I must have automatically turned it on as soon as I got the phone,
As soon as you
powering it
got
on,
it.
you're looking through the
Yeah.
settings. I must have turned it on automatically for only Rambler because I only ever see the mic with the little, Gemini little star
Gemini icon.
icon.
Yeah. Okay. Good. But that's a little tip for our readers.
Hmm.
If they get this phone and they're trying to do it and they're getting frustrated, why is just the regular mic coming up and why isn't it doing all of the sort of correction and all of that? That's why. So, um, so,
Worth
so Ram,
mentioning too, ooh, so sorry,
yeah,
just
go ahead.
as we wrap up on Ramblers, that's currently only available on the Pixel 11 lineup of devices, but it is built into Gboard, so I
Yeah.
suspect that it will eventually roll out to previous year or previous models, and then also potentially even to other Android phones that are have already activated, Gboard on them. So
Yeah,
there is hope for other people. I wouldn't say this is the only reason to maybe purchase this phone, but for those of
for
you who
sure.
are buying this phone, it is a huge, huge advantage. Definitely a feature to check out.
Yeah, huge upgrade. That's one of the reasons I call this such a big upgrade, is because of Rambler. But you went right to what I was about to say too, Sabrina, which is that, like, that said, it's only on the Pixel 11, now. It will. Think we have to expect it's going to be on other phones. I think Google has said it's going to come. I believe, actually, maybe don't quote me on this, but we should expect that basically the latest Samsung flagships and the previous Pixels tend to get these leading features eventually too. So I would be shocked if Rambler doesn't come to the Pixel 11, maybe previous devices, but definitely, sorry, the Pixel 10 devices, as well as the Samsung Galaxy, S26 and maybe S25 devices as well. So this isn't a reason, like you said, just to upgrade to this phone. But for right now, it being the only phone you can get it on, man, it's such a game changer. Also, we should remember that Gboard is on iOS as well.
Hmm.
And so I can't imagine Google putting the Rambler. They could. Like, there's no reason that they couldn't also put Rambler in the Gboard keyboard that you can run on iOS. But I can't imagine them do it. What do you think, Sabrina? I mean, would you think they would actually do that?
No, I don't. I think I've lost hope with both, iOS and Android ever really reaching a good point of collaboration that would benefit users the most, because of, the whole green bubble, blue bubble. Even now that I'm phone reviewing and we're carrying each, if like for people who are actually watching, I have like just 5 phones on my desk right now as we speak. And then it's impossible
All the
for all my
things.
friends who have known me my whole life, and I did have an iPhone, was my first phone. I got the iPhone 4S. So since then, I've had the same number, and I'm on iMessage, and
Yeah.
it makes it impossible to ever be able to text anybody on any of my other four other phones, which quite frankly I enjoy using more, and we could get into that.
Yeah.
But yeah, because of the lack of interoperability, this is not a new problem, of course, everybody's aware. But the fact that nobody's worked together to try to, make solve this issue yet makes me think that that divide is only going to continue with a lot of these AI features and such. So no, I don't think that Google's going to give up their secret sauce there.
Yeah, it would seem almost unwise for them to do it because I think the feature is that good and that game changing that it's one of the reasons to have an Android. It's funny because you've been telling me since 2022. I remember when you first the slight aside, and then I'll finish my list of features. I remember the first time you used the Samsung Flip in 2022, and you were like, I would switch to this if it wasn't for the green bubble thing. Like I would totally use this phone as my main phone.
Absolutely. And it is exciting that Apple's going to have a more, you know, unique form factors finally launching in September with their own version of the foldable, which we could get into when we talk about the Z Fold 8, because that's
Yes,
what the proportions are going to look like.
that's
But
right.
yeah, no, I've been locked in into, the a wall garden of Apple just because of all my friends need to reach me, and the jump seemed too big. I have converted some of my family members to now and friends to message me on Telegram if they need to reach me, because I could have that on all my
On
devices.
all
And
the things.
yeah,
Yeah.
so that's a win. But other than that, still stuck here, stuck in my little wall garden. So
Here's one thing. So you poke a hole in this, but remember that when they announced the glasses, when you and I were at Google I/O,
hmm
sitting in the good seats. Thanks for reserving some good seats for us. Um, and we were both surprised when Google announced that the glasses would also run on iOS. Remember?
hmm
Um, does that give you any hope or any sort of second thoughts that it's possible that if they're running the glasses, if they're going to run these glasses on Android or iOS, that they bring a feature like Rambler to iOS too?
Yeah, once I was talking out loud, and my initial impulse was to say no because of this divide. But then if you also think about the whole blue bubble, green bubble, Google's always been on the side of like, hey, we want to work with you, Apple. We
They
would
would do
love
it,
for our
right?
for our
Yeah.
users to have a good experience and for yours too. So actually Apple's the more problematic one. Having said that, I think now that I'm actually really thinking through the problem, I think Google would be more open to putting Rambler into Gboard on iOS. I wonder if Apple would allow it, or if they would pull something like they have with Whisper Flow, where it makes it super inconvenient and it's
Mm,
not as seamless to use it on there. I don't know
true.
how they'd be able to do that 'cause, it is baked into Gboard, but I feel like Apple would find a way to be like, actually, yeah, it's you click the button on Gboard, but now you have to swipe into another app and then activate this feature and then use it and somehow kill it for users
Ooh,
anyways.
it's a good point. It really gets down to the API access. So any
hmm
developers who are listening to this, if you know if there is API access that Google could have on the Gboard to allow the Rambler feature, let us know. Like, drop us a line in the comments or ping Sabrina and I on social and let us know. I suspect that you can't. I think your instinct is right. I think that probably if Whisperflow can't do it,
hmm
probably Google couldn't do it either. But I think that Google might be, if they could do it, and maybe if they partnered with Apple, and it might behoove Apple, because I think this feature will be so I think this will be such a wedge feature that I think it would behoove Apple to work with Google to let them put Rambler in Gboard, because Apple's not going to have anything like this unless they surprise us. Apple's not going to have anything like this, and I'll tell a funny story about this later. But
I mean, they could acquire Whisperflow, right? Or they could acquire any of the 10 million startups that are
you
doing
went right where I
exactly
went. So I
what
will
Whisperflow is
tell the
doing.
story now. Somebody from Apple, when I first came over to the Deep View, and I was talking, with with some folks at Apple, one of the things that I said was, one thing that could really make people love AI on iOS, on iPhone, is if you acquired WhisperFlow. Like, you'd be amazed, because on Mac already, everybody I know that's using AI on Mac is using it. And on iPhone, it's not good. But if you acquired WhisperFlow and integrated it in, you'd be amazed at how much the perception of how smart Siri is would change immediately.
That's true. I love the feature. Don't get me wrong. I love the feature. I love WhisperFlow so much. Maybe it's because I'm just too much in the sauce as you are, and we've been covering these AI features for like what
A
now,
long
like
time.
3 4 years.
Yeah.
It's not the most, groundbreaking of features. Apple could develop this in house. It's not a difficult thing to do. It's really using what natural, language models
Yeah.
are built for.
Yeah.
It's just deploying it. So this is
That's
why
right.
I also don't think. Yes, I still think for sure Pixel has the best AI in any smartphone, but I don't think they deserve as much credit for the launches this year. As much as Rambler is a fantastic feature and I love it, really, it's not the most groundbreaking. It's not the most difficult to build or ship. Is essentially what I'm trying to
You're
say.
right. You're right. And that's exactly where I kind of wanted to end this too. I think just the part of end this part on Rambler and voice, it is such a game changer. Like, make no mistake, as you said. But I think within 2 years, every phone will have
Exactly.
this. 100% every phone will have this, whether they partner with Google, whether they partner with WhisperFlow, whatever they do. This feature is so good that every phone will have it. They'll either, just to your point, they'll develop it themselves, because this technology is out there. They could license it from lots of other people. Microsoft has lots of voice models. Other people have voice models. 11 Labs, other folks. They could work with They could partner with it. So I think you look at every phone manufacturer out there, by 2028, every phone has this. So it's great right now, but it's also not going to be just to this device. As we get back to the Pixel, it's not just going to be this device. It's just for the rest of this year, this is probably going to be the best phone to do it on. And if you really care about that, this is the phone to get. Let me mention a couple of the other features. So, appreciate your analysis on and working through Rambler, because that was super helpful, and I think it'll be helpful to the audience. But a couple of the other AI features that I think are pretty great. One is magic capture. So this is a phone feature, right? You don't love this one. I love it. So we're going to have a chance to debate this one. Magic capture, you can, so essentially say, like for me, like my cats are doing something and I don't want to I don't want to do it. Don't want to like take a bunch of pictures and then have to sort through them and decide which one I like and all that. You can essentially hit magic capture. It'll capture the whole scene of them like playing with, something. And then it will automatically select, sort of the best clips. A lot of times it'll find the ones that are sort of the most interesting motion. It'll capture the motion, and it'll give you the video. So at the end of the magic capture, it gives you the video clip. It gives you the best stills, and the stills are not just like screenshots, like we can do with the videos. They're like full on captures, like motion frozen, all of that. And if it's just like you're taking a group photo, it'll give the one where everybody's smiling, right? It'll pick if you do like a quick little video and you have a video of people all standing together, it'll just pick the best, or it'll pick like 3 or 4 best ones and gives you, essentially like best take, like it's done before. So it's sort of combining a couple of these things. So I think magic capture is a good one. I'll list them, and unless we can talk about what the ones you want to talk about. Magic capture is a really good one. That one is just on this device. I think probably it needs some extra RAM and stuff, but that one could come to other Pixel devices, I think, too. Maybe Google, or maybe sort of Samsung devices too, but it is a software feature. Okay, one of the other features, and this one is a small one, and but it is really interesting, is the teleprompter feature. There's now a teleprompter built straight into the video camera. You can just paste your script in or type it in and do it. So it's really nice for like recording shorts, especially. This is great not to have to run another app where then, it's doing all kinds of things. There's lots of apps out there, teleprompter apps. And so this is one of those Sherlock things, as they call it on Apple, which is, the software building in sort of the features. And then that means if you make one of those apps, you have to make more and better features that aren't available in that. But I think for most people, it'll be really good. And obviously more and more people create content. So I think it's great. I think you'll also see every phone eventually do this as well, the teleprompter feature. So we have sort of the cameras, like those features are better. I'll pause there, Sabrina, and get your thoughts on those two things. One sort of, camera feature and one video feature that I think are pretty smart and make it, work pretty well.
They're smart. I think developers and all these companies are always faced with this major problem, which is there's so many features that you can include and you can bake in that could help someone. And I think the goal is to include as many features that could help the most people as possible. The teleprompter feature, I will absolutely use it. I pay for subscriptions. I have multiple teleprompter apps that I use on the daily. But I am working media, so I'm a very rare case. For somebody like, again, I go to a parent, I go to a kid, I go to a teenager, I go like anybody else or somebody who just works a regular office job, it will do nothing for them. So that's why I am very hesitant to include that into any reason that would be like a major AI upgrade, because it's helping such a niche group of people. And if this capture feature, what is it? Smart capture?
Magic capture.
Magic capture, there we go. Feature, I don't know who it's meant to target. And that's what honestly bothers me the most. Like with the feature last year, which was like, help me take a photo or whatever it was, help me. And it would basically give you
Camera
prompts
coach.
Positioning you to take a better photo. I kind of get it. That's like, again, a parent, maybe you're trying to improve. Some people just don't know how to take photos. There's the term like Instagram boyfriend and training, like girls trying to quote unquote train their partners or their boyfriends to take photos the way they want to for Instagram, where they're looking pretty or position pretty. So this makes sense to me to some degree. A lot of people take advantage of the feature. I don't know who really needs to. The only thing I could think of is going hands free, and maybe you want, like you mentioned, a group picture.
Yep.
But have we really reached a point where I can't hold my phone while I'm taking a video of my dog that's probably going to last no more than a minute anyways, and I can't just take the photos myself? Or also the thing of taking a video and then taking screenshots from that video. I've always done that, and that's pretty effective. I don't know if I need AI to do it for me. Ultimately, I just think Magic Capture doesn't target a broad enough amount of people and an everyday use case. And there's about 1,000 other AI features that probably would have helped much more people and would have been worth the effort a bit more, in my opinion. But Jason, I know you have some different thoughts.
I have one, which is that, so all the years my daughter was in dance, I would capture I would capture photos. And there was always moments where it didn't quite get the shot, the pose that I wanted, right? And so this is really good for people who have like kids in sports or dance or gymnastics or other things like that. Very sort of action photo kind of stuff. It's really hard. And one of the things that I like about this is that you could basically take a video of that of like their moment where they're performing or doing something, and it will pick like the best, scenes that are really hard to capture exactly the right one. And not only that, you can go, so it will automatically pick, what it thinks is the best one, and is pretty good at it, honestly, the best sort of action capture of stills. And you can go back and sort of try to capture the right one, right? You can actually mess in the settings and of the photo and go and do it. I think that's pretty cool and works pretty well. And I think there are a lot of parents out there with, kids in sports and stuff and activities that will find that, to be pretty fun. And pets too, I think. Like if their pet was like at a dog park or something, and it was like, playing with another dog or jumping or doing something like, I think that's another case. So I think that this one will get used by lots of people in fun ways that they'll really be pretty tickled with.
I'm surprised to hear you say this because you like me, we both like to take photos and we both
Totally.
like, photography, the art that is photography. Haven't had a
Yes.
I actually haven't had a chance to pick up my camera and actually do really actual shots of people in a very long time, probably like in a year. But we've talked about like one of my favorite things to photograph is people, and because there's an
Yeah.
art to it, like making people feel comfortable. I've done graduation shoots, I've done engagement photos, I've done all those things as you have, I think, too. And I think maybe I'm just too sentimental with this, but there's something about somebody grabbing a photo of you. For instance, you mentioned the parent example specifically. There's something that I really think is cute of my mom taking photos at specific moments, taking her
Yeah.
like, a little too zoomed in for my liking, or, a little bit just mom style. But I don't know that I would want, because at that point, isn't there always usually a photographer at these events, these sporting events, these dance recitals? There's always somebody who's quote unquote paid to take those pro shots, those pro action shots, and they're going to do it best ultimately because it is a really big. It's really hard to do. Like whenever I've tried taking action shots or in my photography lessons, it's taken me
Yeah.
weeks to try to get even 1% good at it. I think from mom or from family or from even boyfriend, what I would want is to see me through what they saw, less so through what AI saw. But of course, that's also just me probably being more sentimental and growing up in an era where AI didn't exist, and maybe new kids wouldn't even know the difference. Maybe like again, a baby born today, they might just grow up where all their photos were taken by AI. But there's something sentimental to me about my parent actually choosing to take the photo when they chose to take the photo and taking those creative decisions that I
Mm,
wouldn't want to outsource to AI. But we know how I feel about AI and creativity, and we've got a piece coming out on that.
that's right.
Shameless plug.
That's right.
Um, soon.
It's good. Um, I think both things are true. I think it's really, beautiful, precious, amazing when you can take those shots very intentionally, especially if you get good at it, right? It takes time to get good at taking action shots. Um, but I think that it's also true that if you can just take the video with the magic capture, stay in the moment more, and then it's like later I can sort out which ones, I can look through it and see which ones it picked, and if I wanted to pick different ones. Also, having been to these ones where the professional photographers take, the ones, as you mentioned, in a lot of the sporting events and dance recitals and things like that, they never captured the ones that I wanted, right? Or like of my kid, right? They captured the ones they wanted. And sometimes I never even saw all the options they had. They might have captured the one I wanted, but I never got the option to like look at all the ones they picked and say, "Oh no, could you process that one?" They sort of have all the control, and I think it gives the sort of control. So I think this one's going to be an interesting one to watch, Sabrina. Do we see people using this feature and loving it? I think there's the potential that they could, but it becomes a third camera mode. So there's photo, video, and now magic capture. So you do have to purposefully, and you and I both know that most people never touch those defaults, right? And so you have to purposefully go into magic capture as a different mode to do it. And so that, I think, alone will mean a lot of people will never touch it. We know that the Pixel phones themselves are not super widely used, but I think what it'll be interesting to see, because your points are all really valid. I think it'll be interesting to see, do some people use it, and then we know how this will work, right? They'll have to post them on social, and people are like, how did you get those photos? Like, those are incredible. And then they'll say, oh, well, I have a Pixel 11, and I use this magic capture feature, and they'll be like, I want that. Right. And then if we start seeing some of that social momentum, then you'll see other phone makers, I think, pick it up and do the same kind of feature, because there's no reason others couldn't do this one too.
Yeah, I'll probably I'll be pessimistic this one. I'll bet against that ever happening, but we'll
Okay.
see. Maybe we'll have this again conversation a year from now, and it will have blown up. But I don't. I know
All
I'm
right.
pessimistic here.
Last one I'm going to highlight. This is a small one too, and so sort of gets to your point, but which is that you and I both, I remember really liking that you liked this. I really liked it too. The circle to search feature when it first came out on Samsung, I was like, this is the first AI. It was the first AI feature on a phone. I was like, I need this in my life. This is great. I love it.
I think it was before AI branding too, right?
It
Like it
was.
was way before everything became an AI feature.
It was branded as, I mean, it was 23, I want to say, and 2023. And it was branded from AI, but it wasn't like the world's greatest AI feature. It was more just like, check out this cool feature and it's AI. But you and I liked it. But here's how I always use it. You tell me if you did the same thing. What I would do is I would point at something with the camera.
Mm.
I would have it in the camera, and then I would hit circle to search and I would circle it, right? So circle to search wasn't necessarily it was meant to be like anything that's on your screen, right? But in reality, I did it more like kind of a Google Lens sort of thing where I was using the camera to do it. How about you? Did you use it that way?
No, I think I stuck more to whatever was on my screen, but
Interesting.
creative
Okay.
way to use it though. I like it.
Okay. So that's almost 90% of the time when I used it, that's what I was doing. And so the funny thing is now, one of the things I like is, and I think other people did that a lot too, that was out there. I knew others that did it. So in this one, there's now a mode in the camera app itself that is essentially circle to search. You can just go and do like a visual kind of search. Apple has a version of this as well. They call it visual intelligence. So, but I think it's like one of these things that it's a lot easier now for me having to do two steps, right? It's like, it's just always there in the camera, much easier, simpler to sort of get to that and access it. I think this is one of the features you're just going to see a lot more. This is really what a lot of the glasses are based on. You did some reporting this week on the report that there's going to be cameras in AirPods. And that's all about this same feature. It is a visual intelligence feature. It's not about the AirPods recording people the way like Meta Ray-Bans do. It was all about seeing what I see and asking AI about it, which is all the same as this kind of feature I'm talking about. This is coming big time, I think, in the future to a lot of different things, don't you think?
I do. I was actually trying to look it up just now because that was one of the several circle of search kind of tiny upgrades that happened. And I was trying to not misspeak and properly cite them, but I have found that while using the actual devices, I've been reaching out to use circle of search more, which is really great because it's a really handy feature. So
It is. It is. Okay, so that was the upgrade. So those are the upgrades. One thing we should mention though, before we hop over to the foldables, is all of those are software, right? Like all of those, and you and I are, I think we're kind of representative of people out there too. Like we sort of have different takes on how valuable they are or not.
yeah. And
It's
before I guess we pivot out of the all of the AI features, I think it's worth also noting that every incremental update to Gemini that has happened within the last year come together and are packaged really nicely onto the Pixel phone. For instance, the other day I was
sure.
searching something up, and because I'm on Pixel, like instead of my iPhone, I'm not using Safari. I'm specifically using Chrome. And their personalized smart search where it uses all of your email and all of your uh, actual account information. It's something you opt into, of course,
Yeah.
for to put keep user control. But
Personal intelligence, right? Is what they
yes,
call it.
personal
Yeah.
intelligence. There we go. And I actually activated it. I was for the first time motivated to actually hand over that much of my data because it's also natively again baked in a way where I'm like, if I'm using this phone, it makes sense for me to actually make it as seamless as possible. And it worked. My search results have improved, and granted I could do that on iOS if I have the Chrome app and still do it, but there's
Yeah.
something about it being on the phone, all natively integrated. Same thing with the fact that Gemini could reach into all of your, again, if you give it access to your Gmail, your YouTube search history, your past conversations, and all of that. I typically would not be inclined to do that, but since Gemini is the native assistant essentially on the Pixel phones anyways, I'm like, if I'm going to be chatting with this thing the same way I chat with like Siri, it might as well have the most context it can to make it more helpful. So it's all those ways that I think those are the reasons this is the best AI phone. It's because that already the AI, the Gemini that Google
Yeah.
already offers is so powerful. And now you have more of a reason and it's packaged so nicely to use it every day.
Yeah. And I mean, I think it's worth noting too that people do kind of sleep on Gemini a little bit. It gets, especially during 2026, it's gotten very few of the headlines. Certainly, Anthropic and OpenAI have been moving a lot faster and advancing the frontier of AI, faster. What Gemini does do well is some of this integration. It has there are a lot of capabilities to Gemini. It has a lot of different branding, which gets confusing to users, right? They have a lot of names for different anti-gravity and CLI, and there's all kinds of things, and that's getting into a lot of like the coding and other stuff. But even within this, stuff, there's a lot of different brand names for all the different features in Gemini. It can get sort of overwhelming, but it does have a lot of capabilities. To your point, and they are really well integrated on the Pixel devices. Like you can use those things, really well. And so I think the people using that and those features will also just see. And when I had that interview with Samir Samat, the head of Android ecosystem last week, he talked about the fact that like we're trying to just talk about these features and what they can do for you and talk less about AI, because a lot of people, it's sort of a turnoff when you talk about AI too much, sometimes even at all. So that's been their focus, and I think that shows up on this phone pretty well. That a lot of these capabilities that Android has been building, even if they're hard to sort of figure out all of them and what they do because of the sort of some of the branding challenges and the fact that Google does so much and telling the story isn't as easy because of that. There are a lot of things that it can do, and it can make your life better, whether it's like searching in Gmail, whether it's connecting things between your calendar and other things, using Gemini to do that. Now Gemini has the agent, Spark. So Gemini has its own agent that will sort of do things for you. So that's a good. I'm glad you highlighted that, because it sort of gets back to our thesis from last year too. That like, Google's the only frontier lab that has a smartphone, and that shows up in this.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And when you were talking about the syncing between calendar and everything else, worth mentioning that it doesn't seem like a feature, correct me if you're wrong, that you and I could take much advantage of, because we're not necessarily using the native messaging app on the phone, but there's also the proactive suggestions where like if somebody says something to you like, hey, how about dinner at 2 p.m. on Friday, there's a little bubble that pops up in the bottom corner. You could click on it and it'll automatically do it for you. Samsung's new lineup does the same, also through Gemini in the same way. But it seems helpful for people who are actually moving into the phones in a way that, again, as a phone reviewer, we're using different messaging apps
Yeah.
um, and I guess not even as a phone reviewer, if you're a WhatsApp user, which a lot of people are, you
Yeah.
still wouldn't really be able to take advantage of these features. But cool for somebody out there.
If you're using the Pixel, you're getting all your text messages through Pixel, which most of us now, like that's the text message is like one of our primary forms of communication with everybody, all our friends, family, loved ones. What you're getting at, right, is like all of a sudden there's a whole bunch of new stuff that's unlocked in this phone. As a matter of fact, they have these new thing. You mentioned bubbles. There's now these new cards. So if somebody sends you a place, like it will pull up a card with the directions. You can easily use that to get to things. So messages in this phone have gotten a lot smarter. If you're using it for all your communications, like you're going to be pretty happy, because messages now integrates Gemini in a big way. And you're right. Like most people are texting me on my iPhone. And so I do wish I had some of these features. We'll see. I mean, Apple's already announced iOS 27. And so we know most of what's there and what's coming. They do sometimes surprise us with some extra features. So we'll see, in a couple weeks when the iPhone event comes, if Apple surprises us at all. But I expect that this to be, again, kind of smarter than anything we have on iPhone, through next year, until the next round of software updates next year.
Yep, sounds about right. We've talked a lot about the software, anything. I know this is an AI podcast, we have an AI audience, but anything you want to touch on in the hardware side of these new devices?
I think what we should mention is, you know, like everything that we talked about with software, and it's not just because it's an AI podcast and that's our focus, but really that's where Google put all of its momentum. Because on the hardware side, there's even been criticism out there about the hardware because there's not a lot that's new, you know, on the hardware front in these devices, and in fact there's even some downgrades. So we'd be remiss if we didn't mention, you know, a few of those. The cameras are largely the same, the camera hardware. Meanwhile, you see sort of some of the other, you know, the Chinese manufacturers really pushing the boundaries on hardware, you know, new sensors, bigger sensors, all kinds of things like that, you know, like Oppo and Xiaomi and others, you know, working on kind of more advanced hardware. So you don't really get any of that. The the Tensor G6, the chip is smart. It's good. It's Google's own chip, but it's still, the sense is from some of the benchmarks is that it still lags behind Qualcomm Snapdragon 8 Elite and Apple's A19 Pro in kind of raw CPU GPU. So there's that. It definitely prioritizes kind of some thermal improvements, like the devices don't heat up as much. And I found that as well. iPhone still really gets hot, you know, for me at times. It's a lot better than it was, you know, with this new generation. But that's one. There's a RAM reduction on the base models. This was a big one. And this is where sort of the RAM shortages are starting to show up, right? So the base models of these now have 12 gigabytes of RAM instead of 16. And that's sort of a bummer, right? To have less RAM. I don't know that it shows up and you see them. I mean, you and I are not testing the base models. We're only testing the pros because, you know, it's what we care about, and we care about the high end stuff. But
Well, in particular, we care about the high end stuff because they have most advanced AI features are always launched on the more pro models
yeah,
because they actually have the hardware to support these AI features. Other than that,
that's right.
my everyday carry is a base iPhone 17 for just my like personal phone. So nothing against base phones for everybody who
That's right.
can't afford these pro models. It's just that for AI's sake, which is what we're specifically on the lookout for, it makes sense to have some of the more higher models, more advanced
Yeah.
models.
We're typically daily driving a lot of those, you know,
Hmm.
for the purpose of testing the features and writing about them.
Hmm.
So that RAM, that matters, and the fact that they're less. Like I've never seen a phone maker downgrade their RAM from one generation to the next. And I think it does. It really gets at this, you know, huge RAM shortage because of AI factories, right, buying up all the RAM.
Hmm.
It has $100 price increase, right? And then it has this new feature. Lastly, the highlight, which is so on the back now, it has the camera bar. You know, it looks nicer, right? It's just one black piece versus sort of the last one had a little bit of chrome on it. Yeah,
Hmm.
but this new thing, this highlight, so this light, uh, which is your flash, you know, your light. That's the flashlight. It's the light that you do when you run the flash. By the way, if you're using, don't use the flash most of the time. I know we've said this. Like when you're taking photos, like don't use the flash. Like that makes your picture so much worse. But it is good to have a flashlight. So this thing turns different colors. Like if I had it set like, you know, to most of the time when I'm in silent mode, right, or in a privacy mode, you know, you could
D&D.
have, yeah, D&D, thank you. You could have like the babysitter or your colleague, right? I could set it like, okay, if it's during work hours and I'm in a meeting, but if Sabrina's trying to call me, you know, have it flash, right? Then I
It's
know.
5 colors though, which is the problem. So then you're gonna
Yeah,
have to repeat. And right now it's only available for calls, which is such a bummer
it's only
because,
calls. Most
you
people are
know,
not getting calls, right?
calls
Like,
is a dying art. Like I don't think calls exist much anymore. And when they do, it's usually like video calls and you don't
yeah.
really need to be alerted for those because it's just like a friend being like, hey, let's sit on FaceTime for 3 hours. So
So
yeah,
it
bummer.
it's not, it's a very underbaked feature. And they've said that they'll let the thing do more over time. So I could see that. And we've seen phones do smart things with this, like some of the, uh, what are the ones? Nothing
With the
phones.
glyph.
And
Yeah.
yeah, with the glyph. So we've seen that there are ways to do it, but they're not going to be able to do anything like the glyph, which is pretty cool, right? Like this is just a light that's going to light
I
up different
love the
colors.
light. I would really, really, really be using the heck out of this feature if it was not just calls, and if it was able to even do calls from other apps. Like, for
Okay.
example, if imagine I could do like blue for huddle call from Jason. That'd be great because sometimes we hop on huddles, or even I would be like,
Yep.
"Hey, Jason, can we limit our conversations to huddles now?" Because, like, I'm on this phone, and you'd be like, "Sure," or even like again, red for my boyfriend giving me a call from Telegram because that's how we
Yes.
communicate. Like that'd be awesome if it wasn't just limited to the actual messaging app. Oh, or I mean, call native call app. So
Native call app. Yeah.
bummer.
It to be useful, it needs to do that stuff that you just mentioned, right? Like it's got to be more of an API, let the apps use it, let us sort of set it the way we want it. Cuz right now it's just not I don't use it at all, and I don't really anticipate myself using it much.
Worth mentioning, it does activate when you're having a conversation with Gemini and the screen is closed. I don't know if it's very helpful other than have you ever like by accident activated Gemini and it's like running in the background and you're like, "Oh, I didn't even realize you were listening to that. That's a bummer." So like now seeing the light, I mean, will be a good indicator that like, "Oh, you might have, activated Gemini by accident."
Yeah.
Other than that, just seems a little bit gimmicky, even that use case. But it's a really cool idea, and I really
It
do hope they
is.
build on it. I really do like it.
Yeah. So they get points for the idea, execution not so much on this one. So
And the
we'll
good
see.
part is that execution can be tweaked, right, with like
That's
a
right.
software update. The hardware is the hardest part to build, and it's there. So let's hope that a software update comes soon.
Yep, that's fair. All right, that's the Pixel. Very good AI phone. Rambler is such a game changer. I use this phone more because of Rambler. Like I said, I carry two phones, an iPhone and Android. I have for the past 15 years, and there are things now that I do more on this just because of Rambler. So that's so good, but that's likely to come to other phones. Like we said, I think every phone will have that in 2 years.
Yeah, more specs. We could dive more into the specs on follow us individually on our
That's right.
socials, where we'll do more of that. But I will say I do like the fact that the fold is a bit lighter than last year's, not by a ton. And if you're comparing it to the C Fold 8 Ultra, it is
Yeah,
still much heavier than the C Fold 8 Ultra,
much, much heavier.
but it is, I think they said 10% lighter, so that is helpful.
You feel
And
it. It feels clearly lighter to me.
yeah, from the year before, absolutely. The colors are very nice. I'm actually happy with the colors that they released it in, which is a minor thing, but um, yeah, I've gotten compliments from carrying the
The
the Pixel
the Pixel
11.
Fold.
Yeah,
You have the green one, the olive, and
yes,
I have the matte black, which is the first time they've done a matte black, first time they've done an olive. Um,
exactly. I've already gotten compliments from it because I think my roommate was like, "Ooh, I like that. It's like a matcha color," and I was like, "Yeah, it is." So, whereas like again the I think it's called Violet, but the C Fold 8 Ultra, like their like new
oh
swanky
yeah,
color is like a pretty dull, boring one.
yeah.
Other than that, I'm happy so far with using the at least I was really the most interested in the fold, in the Pixel Fold, because I think all these the foldable form factors are the best for AI. I just put out a piece on it at the DVU, which we could give it a read. But I think
Yes.
anything that enables hands-free communication with AI is going to win in this AI era. Foldables are doing it, are the best ones. The most proven one, of course, is crazy ones like the Honor robot phone with the crazy robot arm. I don't know if those are necessarily going to take off, but I do like the thinking process there of having more hands-free interactions with your phone.
Yeah. Yeah. It's interesting because when I was at the Made by Google event, the thing that surprised me most. I tried the magic capture. That was what sort of convinced me, like, okay, this feature's pretty good. I tried the teleprompter feature. I was like, oh wow, this is also really good. Rambler I knew would be good. Like I didn't even have to try it. I tried it briefly. I was like, it's everything I expected it to be. Great. It's great. It's fine. Like you said, the technology's been there to do it. It's the integration that makes it sort of so simple. And I knew Google would do that part, right? And it'd just be the new mic on your keyboard. What surprised me the most when I, immediately started working with the devices was the Fold. The Fold, it's clearly lighter. The thing about this device, and we'll talk about the Samsung too, is it's now at the point where closed, what we would call the cover screen in the past, what you might just call sort of the main, even like the main screen, or what I think of as the main screen, it just looks like any other device. Like it's pretty close to, here's the XL. You can see like it's a little shorter. It's like half an inch shorter maybe. But it essentially just looks and feels like a flagship phone, like a flagship sort of phablet. Well, we used to call it phablet. We don't even use that word anymore, but basically a big phone. And you can use this all day. It feels mostly just like a regular phone. And so that is such a win because, it's taken a long time for them to get like this. And the Samsung the Galaxy 8 Ultra, it's still thin. It's like a candy bar phone, right?
It is thinner, and actually, I went on a very fun deep dive yesterday, which I think I will make a separate video about. But this is just me nerding out about random things at the end of the night while I'm laying in bed and can't sleep. But I've been using within the last month, both the Fold 8, the Galaxy Z Fold 8, this Galaxy Z Fold 8 Ultra, which is the closest thing to the Google Pixel 11 Pro Fold. And for some reason, even though both companies claim, Samsung and Google claim that their inner display, which is what you see when it's open, are both 8 inches diagonally, I felt like the Google Pixel Fold screen was much larger when open.
Yeah.
And basically it all comes down to the fact that this is a perfect square and that is not. So, and if Pythagorean theorem, yada, yada, much smarter people than me, geometry, you get a bit more of surface area when it is a perfect square. So I love using the Pixel Pro Fold as the inner screen more. It feels truly like a tablet. And I love everything. That's my dog. I love everything about, for people watching, using the inner screen on this. And like you mentioned, it is closed. It feels, I like the fact that it feels like a regular big phone. I have the the XL Pro, the Pixel XL Pro. So the screens are essentially the same.
Yep. Yeah. Same.
So
it just feels like I'm using the Pixel XL Pro. Like 95% just feels very similar to using the Pixel
Exactly.
Pro.
Whereas with the Z Fold 8 Ultra, I do feel like I'm using a thinner phone. I don't really like that much.
It's a pain to type with when it's thinner like that. When the keyboard comes up, it's like so hard to type, I find.
And this is not to dog on Samsung at all, though, because I'm absolutely in love and obsessed with, as most people are, the Z Fold 8 Ultra.
Yeah,
the Z Fold 8, the little,
Z Fold 8.
The little.
We'll talk about the little passport guy.
Exactly. So not to dog on them at all. They still have a really great lineup of foldables, and that 8 Ultra, Z Fold 8 form factor, which was unique.
Yeah.
Well, not really. Some other companies did it, but I guess unique in the U.S. market.
It's pretty unique. The passport foldable. We're talking
exactly.
about the smaller one, the squarish one. It's really unique. And we'll talk about that. We'll talk about it compared to the Pixel. But the Pixel is so impressive. Like the other ones were pretty impressive, but they were heavy.
This one's still heavy. It will bring your pocket down, but it is lighter than the prior year, to your point, and that does matter because of how heavy the prior year's model was.
It's closer to a regular phone. Here's the other thing the other sort of sleeper thing about this that I noticed that I didn't until I got my hands on it, I didn't realize how good it was. They made a case for this that is so good. So Google made their own case for the Pixel 11 Pro Fold, and the case is great. Like, it's light, it's not too bulky, but it's very protective. It feels solid in the hand. It's like grippy, and I feel like, okay, it's really solid, and I have no problem, walking around with this phone because it's good. My problem is that with all of the foldables, one of the worst things about it is the case. The cases are not great. And so I never quite feel solid like carrying it around because I'm sort of afraid I'm going to drop it, or if I drop it, it's going to crack or that. So the fact that Google built what I think of as the best case I've ever seen for a foldable is another thing that makes this much more like a daily driver phone.
So I personally don't use phone cases like ever. So that, but I will if I have to use it for MagSafe to activate MagFace on my phone. And
Yeah.
thank goodness that is the biggest advantage I think of the Pixel phones is they have
Yes.
MagSafe, which for some reason Samsung has still decided to not give us. So
right.
that's a huge advantage. I loved being able to plug in my phone last night onto the charger. Place it on top of the charger and have it
Yeah.
just boop, snap onto the back instead of having to like carefully align and see if my phone will stay in place so that I can charge all night, as I have been doing with my Samsung foldables.
That's one of the big advantages to this one. So it has this great case, which matters for me, not for you. It has Pixel Snap, which is their MagSafe.
Exactly.
Built in. You have to add a case to get it for Google. This one also has for Samsung. Thank you. This one also has a zoom lens. So it has a 30x zoom. The Samsung doesn't have a zoom, and this is really essentially modeled after what Apple's building too.
Well,
we
let's
don't
keep
expect
in mind
Apple to
too,
have a zoom.
you said the Samsung doesn't have a zoom. You mean the little Passport Boy doesn't have a zoom?
Thank you. I'm talking about, thank you. I was holding it up, but for listeners, the Samsung Fold 8, which is really nice, we'll talk more about in a minute, but it doesn't have a zoom.
Which I don't think is the equivalent though to the Pixel Fold. I think that their mod the closest thing that Samsung's offering to the Pixel Fold is the 8 Ultra, I would argue.
Yeah. Although
not as fun.
Not as fun. I think in practice, and we've already seen Samsung is selling a lot more of the Fold 8
oh, absolutely.
than the Fold 8 Ultra. This is essentially their foldable now, which is basically modeled to look after all the reports, to look like all the reports we've seen of Apple's upcoming foldable next month, which is interesting. But Google's still doing a different thing. They didn't make theirs more like a Passport. They kept this. They made their Pixel, and I think this is going to come out in the end to be a good decision. They made their Pixel more like a regular Pixel 11 Pro XL that just folds out. And here's the other thing. So we talked a little bit about the hardware. Here's why I think this is, if you're an AI builder, I think this is the best phone you can buy right now, the Pixel 11 Pro Fold. And I'll say why. Two reasons. One, more and more, we've seen that, if you're an AI builder, you're using lots of agents, typically agents and sub-agents, building code, running tasks for you, all of that. If you're doing that, we've seen this funny phenomenon where people are actually like carrying their laptops around in public, like open, because in Silicon Valley, especially, and New York, because their agents need to keep running, right? They need to keep their laptop open. So it's the goofiest thing, but it is a thing. And now what we've seen is you can leave your laptop at your desk, and now a lot of these have made it so you can control your agents from your phone, right? So ChatGPT, you can do that in the ChatGPT app. You can control codecs like at your laptop or your desktop while it's running, which is great. So you're not tethered to your desk as much, right? You can control your agents mobile. That was the original reason why OpenClaw took off so much, was that you could sort of chat to it, from WhatsApp or text or whatever, Slack. So, but that's like a real thing. Like for people who are building AI, being able to control your agents. Well, nothing is better than this. So the Pixel Fold, when you have it open to the inner screen and you have like the ChatGPT app or the Claude app or the Gemini app, you can control your agents, and you can see sort of in the left side, you can see all of the like settings and your, last tasks, running tasks and that. And on the right side, you have your chat, window open. So being able to have that like full experience from a mobile device is huge. Like you can
Question: How
do,
is it
yeah,
different than? And I'm generally asking because I don't
yeah, yeah.
use agents quite the same as you do. You're much more advanced in that realm. How is the Pixel 11 Fold Pro Fold any different than the experience on the Samsung Z Fold 8 Ultra for agent running, like specifically?
Yeah, it's just that it's a little bit, so it's a little thinner, because of that screen, because of the screen. Like you said, this one is more square. You just have more screen real estate.
Right. So you're talking about the screen real estate. Okay,
Yeah,
gotcha.
yeah. You just have more screen real estate and a little more natural kind of screen real estate. But it is still, to be fair, it's still good. Doing what I'm describing is still good on both Samsung, the Fold 8 and the Fold 8 Ultra. Same phenomenon that I'm talking about now is really still good on both of those devices. Here's the one thing that this has, and obviously you're not going to be surprised when I say it, is that you've also got Rambler on this device too. So now you have essentially like whisper flow like capabilities on your phone. This has it. The Samsung devices don't have it. So you have Rambler, so you can speak to it, and you've got, this sort of much nicer sort of agent full kind of view of your agents and everything on this device. So if you're an AI builder right now, and this is the story that I'm, writing for the Deep View, there's nothing beats this, and I don't think anything Apple's going to announce will beat this either because of those two factors.
I really like that for different reasons and from complete different perspectives.
Okay.
Somehow, you and I have both landed on the fact, and I say somehow because I don't think previously we would have said this, or a year ago we would have said this. Maybe you would have, so correct me. But that if you're an AI enthusiast, whether that's because you use AI a lot as a like consumer, or even if you're on the developer side, having a foldable with a wider screen specifically, so not like a flippy boy, but like an actual foldable but with a bigger screen, is almost a must. So
Yeah.
can you believe we got here?
I know, you're right. It is sort of a surprise. I think the way that it happened is like AI power tools have gotten more mobile, and then the foldables have gotten more capable. And so they've sort of met in the middle. This is another sort of story that I've been working on as we've talked a little bit about. And so I think the combination of these two, and both of these devices are really good for that, and we'll talk about the, Samsung Fold 8 a little bit more next, but both of these are great devices if you are like an AI developer, if you're an AI enthusiast, if you're really into agents, because for the reason you just mentioned, that now you can like just have this much bigger view of all your stuff from your phone, and you're just not tethered to your desk as much. And that's pretty awesome, right? Because right now, I mean, you and I both have seen like a lot of people who are in AI, they're like working longer hours, they're working more, they don't touch grass enough. And so if this device lets you get out and touch some grass because you can control, all of your stuff, that's a win.
I also think too that the rise of AI, and actually this is a whole different conversation which I would love to write about and also get your thoughts about. So I was just talking to my boyfriend about it. I think nowadays productivity is hand in hand with AI. If somebody says like we're focusing, this product is geared towards increasing productivity, I don't know if just because I'm in the AI space as much as I am, I'm like, oh cool, so what AI features does it offer? Or how does it make AI better? Or like how does it improve that? And I think the foldable is a perfect encapsulation of the traditional version of productivity because it is great. You mean you get to look at your Gmail on a bigger screen. You get to do very basic quote unquote productivity things on a bigger screen and multitask and again, more traditional definition of productivity. But in what I consider the new definition of productivity, which is like, if you're going to tout that something's for productivity, in my opinion, it better have some good AI features to help you or at least enable them in some way. It also accommodates for that because it's better. It produces a better experience in using those AI features too. So
Yeah, appreciate that. And I think that here we could kind of substitute what you're talking about. We could almost substitute automation for AI in what you're talking about. Like
I do
it
like
better
that.
have
Yeah.
some AI automation
True.
features that's going to do some stuff for
True.
me and not just be about me like going faster or something
Absolutely.
like that. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
Cool.
that's a great point. So that there it is. I think because this is sort of the most phone, right, sort of big phone like experience, closed and then open, it just does so much. And as you said too, in the comparison to the other devices, it's just a little bit bigger, fuller, screen. But I think what separates this from the other two, at least for now still, is Rambler. I think probably those Samsung devices are going to get Rambler.
I think so too.
I suspect like even within the next 6 months, they may get Rambler. We'll see. But for now, I think the combination of those things make this like the best, the AI enthusiast phone. And I think that I probably am going to daily drive this for a while for that reason, and continue to probably write some more about it, or at
It's
least
funny
tweet
you
about it.
mentioned that because I also like you, and I actually adopted this philosophy from Jason. It was a great one. I try to um, always carry my iPhone and then one Android as well.
Yeah.
And I'm currently very torn between whether I'm going to make it the C Fold 8 or make
Yes.
it the Pixel 11 Pro Fold. The argument for the C Fold 8, again, to our fellow listeners, these are the passport looking phones. So they're like stout and small and they fit in your hand really nicely. It's the portability. It is so light. It is so
Yeah.
small. And you get the big screen. I love everything about that. You can't argue with that. Also, it's just so cool looking. I get compliments from my friends who would typically, Gen Zers. They're kind of glued to their iPhones for the most part. So I
Yeah.
probably get like, what is that? Whenever I'm like, on a more traditional slab looking Android phone. But from these, it's like, I want that. To the point that my roommate actually is like, Sabrina, I love this phone so much. I would almost consider buying it, except that he's stuck in the blue bubble.
Yeah.
And when I told him that Apple's releasing a similar form factor, or is rumored to be releasing a similar form factor in the fall, he's like, I'm saving up. I'm going to save up. He's like, how much money do you think it's going to cost? He's saving up because he cannot imagine
Wow.
not having this form factor
Wow.
because it's that good. It's that amazing. So, anyways, torn between this and the Pixel 11 Pro Fold, we shall decide, I guess, as I daily drive both a bit more.
Yeah.
But you make a great point, Jason.
I love it. And you and I have both been kind of fold skeptical too.
Oh
Like
my gosh, we have. This is why I can't believe we've arrived
Yeah.
at this conclusion. This is
Yeah.
insane.
It is. I mean, when we've used them before, like we would test them for the testing,
course.
period, 2-3 weeks, be like, okay, there's some interesting things about his. There's some good ideas here. I could see it. And then it went in the drawer with all the other one. Then you went back to sort of a regular, I mean, we both went back to the regular sort of Android slab phone.
Absolutely. And even in the situations where I was like, okay, actually, this is kind of cool, it would always be the flip. I feel like if anything, I would always talk
Oh,
about
that's
the
right.
flips
Yeah, you
being
were
better
more interested in the flip. Yeah.
than the fold. And I found that the flips were, my argument for them was the fact that like it's so much more compact and then you get
Yeah.
a regular phone. So I'm like, for portability purposes, this makes so much sense. Well, now I don't have to sacrifice portability with the Galaxy Z Fold 8
Yeah.
because it is so tiny. It's smaller than like, my base iPhone 17. And then you open it and you got this massive screen that's perfect for productivity. So I will mention that it does sacrifice camera.
Yep.
That you wouldn't have to
big.
sacrifice with the 8 Ultra, the Z Fold 8 Ultra, or the Galaxy. But that makes sense. There's more real estate on there. You have more space to play with and to put the cameras in and all that stuff. But
It's a big drawback. Okay, so let's talk about this little device for a minute. So just to so for those who are visual, this is the Fold 8 and with the XL. It sits under the camera bar. So I'm holding it up and it's under the camera bar, and then it's essentially, at the bottom, they are the same. So that's how much smaller this device is, right? So it is doing a little bit of this combo of the flips, which are sort of so small and very satisfying, and then and I think that's what Apple did. Really, I think we have to we have to give Apple credit for this. They came up with this design, and this has been floating out there for like a year that this is what Apple was going to do. And Samsung, of course, just moved so quickly that they are just like, great, that's a pretty good idea. Let's do one just like that. And they got theirs out first, like they've done in other ways before. Apple is rumored, if you hadn't heard, right, to produce a device, and we've seen different mocks and case designs and other things that essentially indicate that this is what they're going to do. They're going to do a passport style foldable that will be called the iPhone Ultra, that will come out and could be expensive. It could be up to $2,500 for Apple's version. But Samsung has sure given us a really charming version of this, Sabrina. Like, this device is, I remember the Fold 7 last year. It was so thin and it was so
everybody
light.
was obsessed with this. Yeah, the Fold
It was
7,
incredible. And I was too. I mean, I still put it back in a drawer when I was done testing it, but
you can no, you put it back in the drawer, but I will say it lasted as your main Android driver
For a
so
while.
much longer than other
That's
Androids
true.
have lasted for you. Yeah.
That's true. You're right. It wasn't just 2 weeks. It was like a couple months. And so last fall, and I was so charmed by the thinness and lightness of it. Really enjoyed it. Well, this has the same thinness and lightness as that one, but like this new charming form factor. And you've been using it longer than me, so I would love your thoughts on daily driving it, because I am really, just as you said, I'm pretty charmed by the form factor of how light it is, of how, much, like, the cover screen, even it's just slightly wider than like the iPhone 17 Ultra or the Pixel 11 Pro. And that little bit of wideness, and because it's really square, also means like on the cover screen, even though it's smaller, I really like typing on it because it types really nice because of that too.
Exactly.
It's a little bit wider is nice. Whereas it's the opposite on the Ultra, the Samsung Ultra, Fold 8 Ultra. It's a little thinner and it makes it harder to type on. So I'm really interested in this device. Want to hear your thoughts because you've been using it for like a month, a little bit longer.
A little bit longer, yeah. So actually, and as brand safe as possible, I'm saying this too, like, I think the Z Fold 8 is like the perfect foldable gateway drug. And the reason I say that is because usually having that bigger screen meant also being okay with carrying a bigger phone. If you're someone like me, I've never had the plus versions of anything. I've never had the XL versions of everything. As a matter of fact,
Yeah.
I loved the SE version of the iPhone because it was so much smaller and lighter. I was a mini enthusiast, right? Like, so I've always wanted to shrink. So I've never and that, again, that's why I also always liked the flips. I've never wanted to compromise that. And I'm like, and I'm never going to use the big screen. As a matter of fact, I remember at the Unpacked launch being like, hey, I love how this looks. I love how it looks closed. It's nice and tiny. Again, talking about the Z Fold 8. But I remember sitting with my boyfriend and us just having our casual, like, nerdy tech debates and being like, the problem is, I don't think I'm ever going to open it. I don't think I'm ever going to need the big screen. But the reason I was able and willing to give that a try was because it's so compact and so small. And I've actually found, to his point, he was like, no, trust me, you're going to find a ton of use cases. I found so many, almost an endless amount of use cases for the inner screen. Okay. And that's why I say I think this is the best beginner form factor for a foldable for somebody, because you don't have to compromise compactness or weight to have a bigger screen. And even if you never want to use the bigger screen, you still have a really cute, fun form factor that's very useful, the cover screen. But I've enjoyed using it. I really was concerned about the camera because as much as I do enjoy smaller phones, and I have compromised the camera for them in the past, like with the SE, I usually carry the 17 Pro or carried it for a long time because of that excellent camera. Yeah. And, Jason and I have collaborated on in-depth camera reviews before on phones because, like, we both, I've ran out of storage on my phones a million times for taking so many photos. I haven't really run into that many issues other than the obvious, like, zooming in.
Zoom, yeah.
And honestly, how often are you really zooming in that much? I missed it less than I thought, and I'm willing to compromise that for how compact this is. So that's my these those are my thoughts. I found a lot more use cases. I think it's perfect if you've ever considered one. And I think it's so smart with that Apple usually likes to target, as many people as possible. And it
Yeah.
makes so much sense that they thought of this form factor first because I do think it's the best for the most people.
Talk about some of those use cases. What are your favorite things to use when you open it up and you use the inner screen?
Gmail. I love being able to
Okay.
sit there on email and just be able, how it opens and then you have one on desktop, you have one side for all your emails and then you get to actually preview the emails. Of course, you don't get to do that when you're like on a smaller screen. On a big screen,
Yeah.
you could use both sides in that way.
Okay.
Of course, when I'm like doing anything on one tab, like let's just say I'm like on Instagram and
Yeah.
see something, I love being able to open a second tab, particularly for ChatGPT. That's still my go-to AI chatbot. So I like being able to be like, oh, I wonder what chat has to say about this. Actually, one of my favorite things too is that if I highlight anything on here, it automatically hit like ChatGPT and it'll open it in ChatGPT. So that's great for me as a ChatGPT user.
Like another window side by side.
Yeah.
Ah, so you have it on one side of the screen, you
Mm-hmm.
have Instagram or something else
Mm-hmm.
open, you highlight it, and then you hit ChatGPT, and on that second side, it'll open it. You can
Yeah,
set
and
it so
sometimes
that
I'll open it just in ChatGPT and then I will manually toggle it for them to be side by side. But I still like that it sends straight
gotcha.
up what you highlighted. I don't have to retype in or like even I don't even have to copy and paste. So if you just hit the ChatGPT thing, it opens it in a ChatGPT text box. Um,
Nice.
yeah, I those two things. Um, Browsing on social media, it's so much funner to do on a bigger screen. Though I will say, and it's another thing why I love the C Fold 8 is that you could flip it, from like being in this like more landscape mode to like
Yeah.
the other mode.
Yes. Yes.
There we go. And the other when it's like when you open it like a
So
hamburger.
from landscape to
Yes.
portrait, and then now you've got like
Mm-hmm.
this phone at this size. This is far bigger than any phone you have. Like so I'm opened up, and then I flipped it to portrait mode, and so now you have a phone that this or a screen that's bigger than anything, even close to any other phone, like big phone out there. But now you've got a device but it's in a device that's a lot lighter and thinner than to fit in your pocket. So
Exactly.
that's a pretty cool thing.
Exactly. And I also enjoy using it again for the foldable sake as almost like a hands-free like tripod, right? Like
Okay.
I went to the arcade with my friends and her and me were playing Guitar Hero and like I was like, oh, this would be cute, and I just like kind of opened it and left it on the chair and had it record with the back camera. That was fun.
Yep.
Yeah, there's so many ways that I've used this now that I'm like, oh, writing on Google Docs again. And a perfect example where I
Mm,
wish I had Rambler. For that, I will have to flip over to the Google Pixel fold. But my biggest complaint ever when I'm on a plane, when I'm on a train, when I'm on anything, as I'm a writer, as you know, for the deep view, um, sitting on my like 17 or even 17 Pro and trying to type, and it's like I have to toggle, and the screen is so tiny. Now with a bigger
yeah.
screen, it's you can actually do work on your phone. So, which
Yeah.
again, granted, you could do for all of them, but the biggest appeal of this is that you don't have to sacrifice having a brick in your pocket or a big, bulky, tall thing. It's so tiny. It's so small. It fits in your hand so nicely.
I could definitely see myself using this as my Android. If it weren't for the Pixel, if the Pixel Fold 11 Pro Fold hadn't come out, I would have been ready to use this as my device.
And what's the
Um,
thing? What's the one biggest is Rambler the biggest reason you're gonna stick to the Pro Fold?
to the other one, I think I think I will use the Pro Fold for two reasons. One is Rambler by far, like as we've talked about ad nauseum at this point. People are probably sick of hearing it, but it is such a game changer. The other is just that it just operates like a normal phone to me, closed, and so that I can just closed when I don't need to. I can just act like I'm using a normal phone, and
Uh,
that's
can I add some randomness, some chaos? When
yeah,
the
do
iPhones come
do
out, which one, knowing if it's the lineup that we think it's gonna be,
yeah.
do you think you'll switch your mind on the form factor thing? You'll be able to put that aside, and do you think your main Apple carry will be? the Fold, or do you think you'll go for the regular because you like the regular form factor?
I will go for the regular for one reason.
Wow.
Zoom photography.
Mm-hmm.
Like I take so many photos with the Zoom. I love
Mm-hmm.
Zoom photography. I take so many of my photos with the Zoom lens, and
Mm-hmm.
I just love Zoom photography. To be clear, I love the Zoom on the Pixel 11 as well. Now this one goes up to 120x now. We didn't
Yeah.
mention that, but the Zoom is even better on this. And so that's one of the toughest things but I don't necessarily need the zoom on both cameras. I do like it on having it on both because some of them, there are some things that are better on one versus the other, Android. And so I was the same when I've carried Samsung phones as my Android phone. When I would use Zoom, some Zooms I liked better on Android, some Zooms I liked better on iPhone, but I always liked having both options. But I'm willing to give that up and just have one of my phones have Zoom. The iPhone, which is what I take most of my pictures with. If I'm honest, I still prefer it, and I think that it is still a little better for most things, but there are some specialty cases, obviously, that Samsung does better. Sorry, that Google does better.
Also, to
And Samsung
caveat
too.
too, it's interesting, and this is why Jason and I have tag teamed phone camera reviews before. It's because Jason loves to do photography in terms of nature, in terms of
Yeah.
things that are further away, like a landscape and all of that. Whereas for me, most of the photos I take are things that are very close, like when I'm eating, myself, me and my friends,
Yep.
myself, and then myself. So
So yeah, when we collab on, when we've done that, for several iPhone reviews and other camera reviews, it's good because we take pictures of different things, and so you really get a wider gambit of what the phone camera can do. It'll be interesting to see if we do that this year.
I think we
Maybe we'll do
should.
that on socials because it would be sort of a fun. It would be a sort of a fun thing for us to do. Maybe we'll do it like as a social only sort of thing. That would be a fun collab.
Yes, yes, it would. We should do it.
All right, let's do
Great.
that. But yeah, but that sort of gets back to I think Apple. I will not use I will definitely try the Fold. Now I'm sure I'll be just as charmed by its little passport foldable, but I don't think I will daily drive it because of the Zoom photography. But I will definitely be interested to see if I can do some of these same things, especially these AI use cases, to see how well they work. I expect they'll work pretty well, but uh, I it is interesting that you and I are both, on the verge of going foldable though with our kind of Android work phone. Would not have expected that going into this phone season.
I would
So
have never expected it either. Again, I think for all the reasons we talked about, the bigger screen, AI era has made us focus on productivity in a way we've never done it before. So it just makes sense
yeah.
to have the bigger screen. I do miss some things. I will miss some things about the Galaxy S26 Ultra, including the privacy screen. That was
Mm.
really fun. I did enjoy using that. I wish they brought it to the foldables. I understand why they didn't. But there are some things I will miss from a normal flat slab phone, but not enough to make me commit to at least my Android carry being the slab phone. They're gonna be a foldable for sure. It's just a matter of which one, like we talked about, the Samsung
That's right.
Z Fold 8 or the Pixel 11 Pro Fold. Cool.
Interesting times. Interesting times. The AI tools keep getting better, and the phones and more mobile, and the phones, the foldable is sort of the most productivity heavy phone. Oh yeah, the last thing I'll say as we're wrapping, Sabrina, that I'm going to try, and I was interested to hear your thoughts on this. I think I'm going to get one of those. Are you familiar with those little fold over Bluetooth keyboards that like they fold in half and you can put them in your bag? So I think what I'm gonna try on a flight, because I have a lot of flights this fall, because you and I are going to a lot of events coming up here in the next 2 months. We have a huge fall schedule, so stay tuned to the Deep View we're gonna be covering a lot of stuff
The
coming this
debut
fall.
and our socials for all the behind the scenes
That's
where
right.
we're hopping around.
That's right. Uh, I'm gonna get one of those little Bluetooth keyboards, and then I'm gonna use, the little things you can put on the back of like with Pixel Snap or MagSafe that let you use it as a stand.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna try on a plane using on a stand, getting a full little Bluetooth keyboard. It's not as big as a regular keyboard. It's like maybe 2/3 the size of a regular keyboard. And I'm gonna try using that and seeing if I type, if I can like use this almost like I would sort of like a iPad Pro with a keyboard and see how that goes. Do you think that's a crazy idea?
I think I'm giggling because I've heard this idea before, and I've actually had to live the embarrassment of sitting next to somebody on a plane who's doing it all
Who
the
does
time.
it?
No, I'm kidding.
I thought you might.
Yeah, my boyfriend is a phone reviewer, or a phone. Yeah, sure. He is a phone reviewer. But I was gonna say phone reviewer on YouTube, but I don't. But it's okay. It doesn't make a difference here. But and yeah, and he's always been on the foldable wave. He's been on it probably as early as it can be, and he's always wanted to test out the whole like portable PC situation, having your phone become your portable laptop.
Yeah.
And he has every foldable keyboard, foldable mouse, foldable kickstand for your phone, all of those things ever. He's done videos on them several times. He actually did it with the trifold, like the Samsung trifold,
Yes,
and
that
he was
makes perfect sense.
exactly, and he was
one.
carrying around his laptop and his portable keyboard and his mouse. So yeah, he's done it, and it's worked for him somewhat. I'm excited to hear your thoughts and your
I'll
take.
look at his videos. Yeah, I'll try to find the right to find the right keyboard. I want to try it.
Yeah.
I like using the iPad Pro with the keyboard for this reason. There's some things that are really nice, like just to write on that is really nice, right? To have like one app open. It's sort of the opposite. It's like the multitasking and more like sometimes it's easier to just have Slack open or email or a doc, like when you're on a plane. It's so nice to just sort of do that. And so I'll be interested to see. I don't think I will like this as well as I do like the iPad Pro for that kind of stuff. iPad Pro is also really nice for watching, for watching YouTube, for, downloading any videos you want to watch on like a really long flight or something like that. So we'll see. I don't expect this to do that, but I kind of want to try it. So
I can't wait to
see.
hear your thoughts. Yeah.
We'll see. Very good. Well, thanks, Sabrina. This has been great. We had so much to talk about. We covered a lot of ground on this one, and excited to get it out there and see what our audience thinks. So let us know in the comments. Are you interested in the fold? Do you think the fold could help, untether you, let you touch grass a little more if you're an AI builder, so that you're not tethered to your machine and babysitting, agents all day or whatever? That I think is one of the things that we think holds some potential, but also these devices in general, just getting smarter. If you take the AI out of it all, just like some of these things are just smarter features, like Rambler, like the camera, the magic capture and other things. But we're interested to hear what you think as well. So let us know in the comments. And also you can find Sabrina and I on social, ping us, let us know what your thoughts are. Let us know what else you'd like to see us, cover as well. We'd love to get your feedback and hear what we can do to be helpful to you as you're trying to navigate, this crazy, crazy world.
Yeah, is AI hardware reviews helpful? Want to see more of them, less of them? Give us your thoughts below. And also you can reach out to us even if you have more product-specific, spec-specific questions, social media or emails, etc. We're happy to help.
Yeah, excellent. All right.
Well, thank you
Thanks,
for having
everybody.
me on, Jason. This has been a fun combo.
Good stuff. Thanks,
Thanks
Sabrina.
for joining us.
Thanks, everybody. Bye.